Classical conditioning is a type of learning in which a neutral stimulus comes to elicit a response after being paired with a stimulus that naturally elicits a response. One classic example of classical conditioning is the case of Pavlov's dogs. In this famous experiment, Ivan Pavlov, a Russian physiologist, conducted a study on the digestive system of dogs. He noticed that the dogs would salivate when they were presented with food. Over time, he realized that the dogs would also begin to salivate at the mere sight of the lab assistant who brought them the food, even before the food was presented. Pavlov then decided to conduct an experiment where he paired the sound of a bell with the presentation of food. Initially, the bell had no effect on the dog's behavior. However, after repeated pairings of the bell with the food, the dogs began to salivate at the sound of the bell alone, even when no food was present. Through this experiment, Pavlov demonstrated how a neutral stimulus, the bell, could come to elicit a response, salivation, through its repeated association with an unconditioned stimulus, food. This process is known as classical conditioning, and it has been widely studied and applied in the field of psychology. In everyday life, classical conditioning can be seen in many different scenarios. For example, a person may come to associate the sound of a particular song with a specific memory or emotion, or a child may learn to fear dogs after being bitten by one. These examples illustrate how classical conditioning can shape our behavior and emotional responses to various stimuli. In conclusion, classical conditioning is a fundamental aspect of learning and behavior, and its effects can be seen in many aspects of our daily lives. The example of Pavlov's dog serves as a classic illustration of how neutral stimuli can become associated with specific responses through repeated pairings with other stimuli.